Hey, welcome back to Function and Flourish. We just finished having a conversation with Kevin Brun about his during the grief and loss section. Now we're going to talk with Monica, my wife, the therapist, and she's going to give us kind of a wrap up, kind of look at what Kevin had to say, and really kind of just give us a summarization of how things were there. And so here we go. Monica, thanks for being here. You saw the stuff with Kevin.
Powerful story.
Very powerful story. I've known Kevin for a while now, walked with him through that a little bit. But I mean, when I say a little bit, I mean a little bit. And he really unloaded. And I was so happy that he was willing to do so.
Feeling comfortable
Yeah.
with you. So that relationship you built with him helped him feel comfortable. I've met Kevin a few times at different events that we've had, but never really knew his story other than him and I share a chronic medical thing in common. So that was really the only conversations we've really ever had on that subject.
Took a lot of courage, a lot of vulnerability on his part to really share his story. As you listen to it, how would you summarize not the situation,
right,
but his journey? How would you summarize his journey?
I think I'd talk about, you mentioned it when you talked to him, a lot of courage, a lot of vulnerability, a lot of chaos, like he said. But through the chaos came, like the refining by fire, that him being able to share his story in the way that he did was he made it apparent that he spent time working and introspectively and mindfully checking himself.
Yeah.
And kind of, again, that refining by fire, it wasn't a slow process. It was a long process.
Yeah.
And I know in future sessions, we're going to talk a lot about trauma.
Yeah.
And with trauma comes a lot of, he talked about hitting the wall often and how he was able to, he had some key people in his life that were supportive of him and spoke into his life in a way that allowed him to point in directions that took him on the path of recovery and the path of processing what was going on, versus those connections that could have taken him in a very different path on his journey.
One thing that he said during the interview that I really wanted to run by you so that you could have I want to hear what you're saying. Go ahead.
Word. I saw resilience specifically in the military is used often, but this is the epitome of resilience, is that refining has brought him where he's at now. And again, his story is this chapter of his story is very fresh. It's not even fully written yet, to speak. And he is mindful of his resiliency and his strengths, but also very mindful of where he may be vulnerable still to, more challenges.
Yeah. He used a term in there. He set up a very good mind picture. That was grief, and dealing with grief was like getting hit by waves. I just thought to myself, wow, the ocean doesn't ever stop giving us waves.
Well, it just keeps coming. It comes in, it goes out. Life is like that too.
Yes. And
grief, for sure, it's a good picture of grief, because
some waves are bigger, some waves are smaller, because we have I forget who did it, Kubler-Ross, whatever, did the 5 dimensions, the 5 levels of grief. And she did it in a very linear manner. But when he talked about the waves, it helped me really understand that it's not linear.
Well, and depending on the climate, the sea can be very stormy.
Yes.
Very stormy. I mean, the perfect storm kind of stormy.
Yeah.
So even those waves of grief could be different depending on the climate, the environment around what's happening in the universe. So to to apply that would be my vulnerabilities can be that there's a lot of chaos happening or other stressors coming in that makes that grief or processing. Let's say if someone had a big event and that person was not there, then you're going to expect more of a storm around that.
Yeah.
And everything else will seem a lot more dynamic. So that makes it more, the waves are 20 feet tall instead of ripples where it's just always going to be there.
Yeah. He also said something that I really wanted to hear your perspective on. He said when that phone call came in, and he talked about that, which is a very powerful chapter. He said that, I'm paraphrasing, there was almost a sense of relief when they dealt with understanding that their son had passed. Explain that to me. I don't understand that. What is that?
I just want to be clear on what phone call we're talking about, because he talked about a couple different ones.
Yes.
And then he really articulately said the learning of his son's death started with a phone call from the person that was house sitting.
I think so. Yep.
And then he found out, and he was already processing, and you brought that up in his interview, already processing that before he actually spoke to someone on the phone that said to him that his son was no longer here with us in this realm.
Yeah.
And the piece that comes, you brought up it was 2 decades plus of turmoil. And that's just with that one individual family member. That doesn't really touch on the risk factors that came prior to that through childhood for his own risk and his own challenges he was facing before he even knew this child and loved this child.
You're talking about Kevin?
Kevin.
Yes. Yep. Okay.
So the question was, like, what was the piece? And the piece was the turmoil that inflicted. And I'm going to say inflicted because addiction is an affliction.
Okay.
Not just an affliction on the human that is the struggle with it, but their entire circle will be inflicted by this. Afflicted, inflicted, whatever word works. I'm pretty sure it's afflicted. That they will all be impacted. And it's living on edge all the time.
Yeah.
And even if the on edge is only in the subconscious mind. So there was periods of time where it seemed okay.
Yeah.
And then he spoke of it. And I'm going to speak of the mind-body connection. And when we have a conversation about trauma, that's going to make a lot more sense.
Okay.
But I would say that mind-body connection, he said the time that he felt at ease, and I don't want it to get lost that this actually is a physical thing, a biological thing that's happening. Our brain, we think mind and body separately, but the truth is mind, body aren't separate. The brain is controlling everything else in the system. So it is a mind body. Whatever's in our mind or our body, our mind is also in our body. And he said that he felt the most relief when his son was actually in prison because he wasn't always apprehensive about what was coming.
Yeah.
He says he's here, he's secure, he doesn't have access to whatever his choice was at the time. He is getting meals. I don't have to think about him in a gutter somewhere or whatever it is. So when he says this, then we understand that it wasn't just the thoughts that he had. The thoughts created felt sensations also, which is where trauma gets trapped.
Yeah.
So for 2 decades, their family was living in trauma, and that's without any precursors.
Yeah.
So when he says it was a relief, and again, he talked about the guilt, and that's another thing. A lot of grief and loss, we do talk about guilt and shame because it is a relief. We had the person I called mother, she was sick for several years, and it really impacted our family in a lot of ways. And I never wanted her to not be here, but all of us, and I say that very gently in case my father sees this, I would never want to disrespect their memory. But she wasn't in pain. She wasn't suffering.
Yeah.
And we don't know the extent to that, but it was some form of relief, but then a whole new stressor came.
Yeah.
So he's got relief, and that's really how we work with ourselves anyways, to make meaning. And I'll probably say this a lot. We must make meaning. Remember, he said something about answers. We must make meaning of the things that are happening. And he even alluded to that a couple times.
He did.
We make meaning, and the meaning is, okay, she's not suffering anymore, and therefore he's not suffering anymore with this affliction, and therefore there's some form of peace.
Yes.
And that helps us draw meaning. If we had no meaning to draw to things, then we would lose hope in kind of what the purpose when I'm laying in bed and saying, God, why is all these things happening?
Yeah.
Why does my daughter have this? Why don't I have this?
Yeah.
Why is, the person that's in affliction or homeless on the side of the street, would they be better off getting an affliction of some sort to where obviously they're there, they have some form of affliction.
Yeah.
But I mean, does that 100%. Answer what you're saying? The relief comes because you make meaning of what the relief means.
Yes.
To summarize it.
Last question. What is, we talked a little bit about, he talked about friends would call and say, hey, how can I help? How can I do this? And he didn't even know. He's like, I don't know. Don't even know how to survive myself right now. I would imagine that from a therapy perspective, how can we best help somebody that's in Kevin's situation that has lost somebody?
Well, I think whether I'm a therapist or not a therapist, there's not really a firm answer on that because it's relative.
I totally understand.
It's relative.
Let me rephrase the question.
Okay. Maybe that will be helpful.
Yeah. If the majority of people that come in to see you because they're dealing with grief or loss, or they're, if you were to say, most of them say this is something that all of them struggle with. What's that high percentage, and how do you help them through that?
It's a process for sure.
Yeah.
It comes down to typically the ones that I would be seeing have their own afflictions and other things besides just grief and loss.
Yeah.
There is Kubler-Ross. Is that what you said? I can't remember. I can't say her name.
Kubler-Ross.
Kubler-Ross.
Yep.
Kubler-Ross. And there's another person that's really prominent in grief and loss right now, David Kessler.
Okay.
And David Kessler is also doing some of this grief and loss. And I can't quote him directly, but I say if you're looking for grief and loss, you can look at her. They put it in a linear, but we all know it's not even a circle.
Nope.
You know what I mean? It's not like you're going to go anger, denial, blah, blah, blah. It's going to be anger, denial, anger. All the 5 stages will happen. And there might even be a 6th somewhere. I'm not absolutely certain. But they say, don't expect it to be linear. And the best way to help is not trying to help someone get over it. The getting over it is a misconception.
Yes.
It's, there's no getting over loss.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. And I show, if we had the graphics in the background or whatever, I show that if loss were the spot, when I first lose someone, it takes up most of my world.
Yeah.
Right? But as we grow, and I don't know if I'll be able to really make sense of this, but as time goes by and we're working on the process, now some people will just bury it and their world might stay like this for a very long time. Again, it's relative to people and the work put into it, the work for making meaning of it. If you have no meaning or can't make meaning, then this is going to be your whole world for a lot longer.
Yes.
Now, if time's going by, the world, the grief and loss, the pain stays the same, but the world gradually starts to grow around it, if that makes sense. You start making meaning and making new life around it, and it gets bigger and bigger. The grief and the pain did not get any less. It stayed the same. It will be painful, but now you have other things in your life that allow for that space from the pain to what you're going through. And let's just say you have the loss of a child and another child's getting married, and all you can think about is that child not being there to give the sibling speech or to be in the wedding with them. Well, this might take up a lot more of the world again.
Yep.
So then that means you're not always going to be in that one spot. You have to allow the pain stays the same. Everything around it starts to grow 5 years later. But then let's say the birthday comes. Guess what? The pain's right here.
Start over.
I don't think we're starting over, but for that moment in time, that is taking up the most space in our world.
I hear you. I think that you said something in there. I'm paraphrasing. It said something about society says, or wherever says, when it comes to grief, we don't just get over it.
We don't get over it, but people think, gosh, shouldn't they be feeling better? Or shouldn't you feel this? Or you got to get out of the house to do this. We know that those are helpful things if someone's spending 10 days in a row in bed and not showering. There's plenty of movies out there that represent this. We know they need some encouragement to get up, get out, to do, to be. We know that people do need someone to speak into their life and say, hey, how can I best help you? Can I just drop off the groceries? Or we need the person to show up at our house after the 10th day of being in bed and not talking to anybody to say, get up, I'm going to shower you, or I'm going to throw you in the shower because we're just going to go sit in the sun for a little while.
Yep. Love it. Is it a fair statement to say we're never going to get over that? Because I loved your whole thing. I really liked that. That was beautiful.
I made that.
It was good stuff.
I loved it. I'm trying the best I can here.
Makes sense.
With no graphic.
Then the going back to the marriage, and that was beautiful. Is it a safe statement to say we'll never get over the grief, but we will learn to manage it?
Well, and manage it in context, because you wouldn't want to manage or suppress the wave.
Okay.
You don't want to suppress the wave because then you're denying it.
You're not processing it.
So you may be in denial, but no one wants to live there, and all emotions are valid. If I get angry one day and it's not emotions that are problematic, we all need to have all the emotions. They're here for a reason.
Yeah.
I do a lot of dialectical behavior therapy, and this is one of the things we talk about. All emotions are valid, none's good or bad. They're all valid and all necessary and have a purpose. If I'm angry, I just ride that wave. And the more I'm working on or figuring out what behaviors come from that, because look, some people can turn to paths that are destructive. They may seem good in the beginning to help this pain because my whole world is this. They may seem good in the moment, but the truth is it's only good for a moment.
Yeah.
And those negative ways of coping get you on a path that becomes far more ineffective in your life.
Okay.
Then accepting, just riding those little waves of emotion. You should be happy or sad, or we have a friend who, my best friend from childhood, lost her son, and it's been a number of years ago, and I don't want to say the wrong year because that would be hurtful.
Yeah.
And it's not coming to me right at this second. Of course, I'll be thinking about it for a long time now until I figure it out. But I know this many years later, when that child's birthday comes, and he was a young adult when he passed, and there was a lot of turmoil happening prior to the passing. And I know that at certain times, or when a new grandbaby for us is born, and she's the second mom to all the kids,
Yep.
our kids, grandma, whatever. But the truth is, even as happy as she is for us, there is pain there, and it's okay. It's okay. There's no shame or grief in that. I mean, no shame or guilt in that. It just is what it is. And it would be harmful to pretend like it wasn't.
Good point. Good point. Thank you for wrapping that up for us today.
I hope I did.
You did. You did a wonderful job, and I couldn't thank you enough. Kevin's story was powerful.
Very.
I know that we have more in the future, so thank you. For all of those out there in Function and Flourish land, really glad that you joined us for this series on grief and loss. I hope that you learned something as we went through it. I hope we were able to identify. I hope that there was something that impacted you so that you can be a better version of yourself. But I will say this, if you need to reach out and you need to get in touch with somebody, please don't hesitate to drop us an email, drop us something in the comments. And whatnot.
We'll provide a list of resources that will be connected to any of the videos.
Yeah.
So
we want nothing more than for you to be a better version of yourself. And that happens by building a better you. Until next time, we're really glad you joined us. From Monica, myself, blessings. Have a wonderful day.